Hey everyone, your friend Greybeard here with another King version. We talked about this deck last week and we had pretty much this version here. As by the end of the video I say that Pudding didn't put enough work to keep that slot. Maybe I would work with no purple Kaidos, replacing the Black Marias, and not having one Gatling, or if I decided to have, I would increase the number. We explored a lot of options through the week, and this is what we came up with, right? So, going over the changes a little bit, we don't have Puddings, we don't have the Gatling, we don't have the purple Kaido, we reduced the number of Ice Ages, but on the other hand, we added a couple of searchable 2Ks. Sasaki, a searchable 2K, its ability can help sometimes because it can minus something on the opponent's board. To be honest, I didn't use it that much for that. It was pretty much a 2K counter, searchable 2K counter, but opens the option. Who's Who, very solid, 2K counter, 5K can be a 5K attacker, searchable, has a trigger to KO something, also gives you the option to trash a card, KO a 3 cost or less, which without the minus we have running in this deck makes it possible to KO bigger and bigger characters. We added one OP08 Kaido, solid card, very strong. Since it's an activate main, it synergizes better with our leader ability than the purple Kaido. We still run 4 Linglings. She's essential since it removes something from the board, sending to life, so it's not KO, and also sustains you in the longer game. We improved the number of Sabos. Sabos very good in this deck. Filter your hand, establish a blocker, 6K attacker, has counter power, and makes your board immune to KO, so pretty solid, pretty strong. One important thing is that now Rebecca has a wider range of things to bring back, which can be Garp, Who's Who, Jack, and Sabo. Before, in a lot of situations we wouldn't have anything to bring back, and now it feels much more consistent that when we play a Rebecca we will have something in trash to bring back. We reduced the number of Ice Ages because Kuzan is very strong and we rely on playing him, and he -5 everything on the opponent's board, so that by itself does the job for this deck. But it's still questionable, so we'll play a little bit with this, check how consistent it is, how strong this deck can be, and we'll keep working on it. In the end we'll discuss a bit if we're there already, or what we can do to find a better version, how we can walk this through. But I also feel that you have to read your meta, you have to understand what you're playing against and tweak the deck to fulfill your needs. I feel the deck's pretty strong. I feel that if we put some effort into it, we can go toe-to-toe with any deck out there. I still struggle against Zoro, sometimes against very aggressive decks, but that's the nature of it. We play more in the late game, so in the earlier game we're more vulnerable. So yeah, enough of explaining, let's get out there and see what we can do in some gameplays. So let's go against Black Yellow Luffy. I won't lie, this is a terrible match for us, not very good. They have the upper hand here. Our hand was not good as well, but this is a bit better. But yeah, we can still give a shot with this hand, right? The longer term plan here can be to deploy a Kuzan and maybe have the Kamazo out and starting going for some KOs. I know that they start to cycle Sabos one after the other, but at least we can ramp, so we may be able to start developing big bodies earlier. So let's not attack them. We have to put them into a situation where they have to take their own life here. And it started well for them. They had a Makino, they could sort it, they knew that there was a Sabo in there, they could pull it, they are at 7k. Now they still can't use leader ability, and that's when the hard game starts, right? When they are at 0 life. So that's why we are trying not to let them get there too early, otherwise the game becomes too hard for us. They started with the immunity for KO, which is our main game plan. That gives us a little bit of trouble, but yeah, we have some plays. We can do some things here. Maybe start with putting out a Kamazo. That can be an option, but if that's the way to go, maybe we should consider to attack first. Attacking is still questionable because they are at 2 life. If we attack they go to 1, it's pretty easy to go down to 0 from there. They are at 7k, wouldn't be an effective attack as well. We have a couple of 2ks here. When we get to 9, that Kaido can trash something, that's good. So let's play our Kamazo and let's just end the turn. That makes no sense to put them closer to use their leader ability now. That's a bit dangerous as well because we are not taking them closer to losing the game, but we also have to keep them away from using their leader ability. Having 2 Kuzans in hand is kind of not the best at the moment, no counter. And they play the Luffy and attack. We can get out of this one, give a 7k to them, and I believe they will use the Luffy ability to be closer to 0, but apparently not, and that's questionable. I would, so let's get rid of that Luffy as fast as we can so they can't use the ability to gain life. That's the plan for this turn. I know that there is still a Sabo in there, so they are pretty safe. They have 2 life, they can block, they can do a lot of their shenanigans there. At least they can't do the leader ability at the moment, but makes no sense to give -2 here. So let's draw a card and another non-counter, which is not the best. Kamazo putting up some work, getting rid of that Makino. Not that it matters, Makino is not a card that would concern us at this point, but forcing our opponent to trash a card from their hand, that's quite good at this point. Also getting rid of the Luffy, that they could get to 0 life on demand, that's pretty strong here. They don't have too much in their trash that they can do, but that changes very quick. But eventually we'll have to start attacking. So this is a free block, but sometimes the opponents, they don't realize and they give us a 1k. There's no harm in attacking here. I know that they block it for free, but we lose nothing out of it as well, right? And they play another Sabo, which again we can't use our Kuzans to KO anything, so it's a bit problematic. Still, they are not closer from their goal of being at 0 life, but they are developing some nice blockers. Their hand's not insane. They have 5 cards in hand, that's not a lot, but yeah, they definitely will attack us for 7 here, which makes no sense to counter and lose our hand, at least initially. But now we don't want to go down to 1 life. That Sabo is available for us to attack, which is quite good. We can go for it. We'll grab a free board removal here. I don't think they would counter out of this. Doesn't make too much sense. And we could attack for 8 and go with a jack, but they don't have too many things in board, so maybe even that we can't KO anything, developing a Kuzan here that is a big body makes more sense. We're still safe, we have 2 life, so we can go for the idea of developing an extra big body to punch hard. Eventually they'll start to be at 9k, 7k every turn, so the bigger the bodies we have, the better. And let's attack. They are at 5. It's a free block. And yeah, but there's no harm here, right? And they questionably take it. It's not that questionable because they want to be at 0, right? So it was an opportunity for them to go closer. Maybe they got what they needed, and there we go. Now it's where the game really starts. They will start doing their leader ability all the time. They will start to put things in life, bringing back to the board. They will start to make their board KO immune. We only have KO cards in hand, so that doesn't make the scenario very good for us. They review and draw a Sabo, the little one, which is quite good. And they probably have a Luffy and a Sabo in their hands here. We know that they have a Sabo, so now it's when it starts the cycle of protecting their board and being at 9k. This deck's insanely good against decks like ours that relies on control board through KO. It's insanely strong. They will hit, well, you get it, you got it, it's yours. We can't get out of this, even that we wanted to keep Kaido around. And that's where Big Mom starts to shine. Big Mom doesn't KO, so we can put things back into life, which is really helpful. But let's deploy a blocker, get our 2k back, and maybe searching here is something good. Let's see if we get something. And we only can get a queen out of it. No, we could, yeah, we only could get a queen, which is not the best here, not the best option. So let's throw a heavy attack. They are at 0 life. That forces them either to counter or to block. Here at 2k will do the job, so they can get out of this pretty easy. And yeah, attacking with Kuzan here makes sense as well, because they can give a 2k as well. Pretty easy, but we have to start cleaning that hand, right? So our opponent is deciding what to do. Not sure if they have another 2k. Their hand size is not that big, and they block. Getting rid of a blocker is pretty good here because it's one less attacker as well in their turn if they decide to. But also we're putting something in the trash that they can use to cycle a Sabo back, get power, make their board immune. And we get rid of the first attack because it's the easiest block we can get, but that was a mistake. I didn't realize here that they would trash the Luffy. I thought that they would keep it to have more attackers. So they got a free 2k here, because after that they just popped the Luffy and got rid of our Rebecca, which is pretty positive for them. And again, a Gecko Moria, Luffy, bring the Sabo, bring the Luffy out, go to 9k. Situation's pretty rough right now, I'm not gonna lie. The entire board will be protected from KO, but here there is an opportunity, right? If we put that Gecko Moria into their life, they will have to take it out with some life card. They don't have any of the yellow Luffys on the board that would allow them to draw it. So here the best option we have is to put that Gecko Moria back into their life and maybe, yeah, attack with Kuzan. So yeah, let's go for 10 first. I think 10 because we can leave one door open if we decide to search with Queen. Search for a 2k counter. Maybe we could do that. Let's see what our opponent does. They didn't have a 2k before, so yeah, I presume they won't have it now. And let's get rid of that Gecko Moria. Put that back into life and make them sweat a little bit to take their own life. We can get rid of the Kuzan. We already have one on the board, and like they have no counter power, so it makes sense to get rid of them. And now we put the opponent in a bit of a rough spot here, because it's not that easy for them to get rid of that Gecko Moria. That's on top of their life. They can't use leader ability out of the bat, but also they have a lot of cards that allow them to draw their own life. They attack us for 6. They can pop this after to get rid of our Kamazo if they decide to, which is pretty bad, and that's what they do. It makes sense, right? Kamazo would start to clear their board pretty easily from now on with the -5 from Kuzan. So, and again, they are able to rip their own life. They can start triggering their ability again, which is pretty frustrating at this point. We're still at 2 life, which is kind of good. They are also not very comfortable here because they are at 0 life and they only have 1 blocker, but they can put 2 life back into they can put 2 cards back into their life and may bring them with the kids again. And they are able to bring 1 Sabo that refreshes their hand, filter out the non-counterable cards. They go for Kuzan, we can't defend it, so we have to let it go. Unfortunately, that was a very good card for us, but At this point, it's not something we can protect. We didn't have the counter power. And they are at 7k again. So here what we can do is to go for 8, attack for 8, see if they have the counter power for us, and then we can try to ping for 9 as well, see if they can give us something, and play a jack. That's the best we can do this turn. Let's see if our opponent blocks. The chances for them to have a counter here are not very slim. They have 2 cards in hand. They were filtering their hand all this time with Sabo, so it's possible, it's totally doable to get out of this. And yeah, they had a Flampe, which is pretty helpful. Let's throw another 9k and see what they can do out of it. And definitely they can't counter out of this one, so it's either let that life go and they block. Okay. We can't KO anything with Jack at this point, but it's another big body that can help us to close the game. Let's draw cards, see if we get more counters, and a 2k counter is what we want to see at this point. Our opponent is not in a very comfortable state here, and if they want to go all out for game, we're at 2 life, so they couldn't do it. Even if they have an ace, we would have enough counter power for that. So yeah, it seems the chances for them to go for game here are pretty slim. And they can't use their leader ability yet unless they get rid of that Sabo. Either they bring it to the board or they get rid of it and they don't have it. So yes, that's pretty good for us. We can't protect Linlin as well, which makes it harder for us to close the game at this point, but we still have a blocker. That's quite helpful. We still have counter power, and we can always KO their blocker at this point with Kuzan. They are at 5k life, so that's not a lot. We can attack without any don't investment, and here they'll have to let that life go. There is no way they can protect that, which is good. One Sabo to the bottom of the deck. Let's draw a card. We have a lot of counter power in our hand, so the opponent doesn't have too much to do, like to close game now. We have 2 life and 7k counter. Throwing down a Luffy makes no difference here. It's just to put something on the board, and getting rid of the Makino also makes no difference. We have 3 attackers here. They don't have much to do, so yeah, at this point it's game. Again, it's not an easy match. We saw all the pieces we needed. They also saw a lot of the pieces that they normally see to win a game, but so we attack first. It makes no difference the order here, because they'll get no cards to their hand. Everything will go to the bottom of the deck. They have no cards in hand, so they can't counter out of anything. So yeah, at this point is game. Pretty tough game, not easy. Very bad match for us, very complicated. But so our opponent has the upper hand with this deck, but we saw everything we needed. We could maintain the board in a reasonable state. Our opponent couldn't stack a lot of cards in their hand. We were constantly forcing them to pitch cards from their hand, and that was very helpful. If they saw more Gekomorias, that could get complicated, but luckily we didn't. So now the opponent's pretty much just waiting for the inevitable here. Right. And yeah, there we go. So a win against Black Yellow Luffy. And here we go, a mirror match against King. This hand's not the best, so let's swap to see if we can find Onigashima, because in this match we need to ramp fast, and having cards like Sabo and our big bombs, Lin to gain life, they help a lot. So yeah, our opponent searches for page 1, so apparently they are running a build with ultis and page 1s and bringing things back from trash and going wide. So my first time playing against this build, let's see how it performs. We're already ramping. Apparently our opponent didn't find Onigashima, but they also find their own way to ramp here, quite effective. They get an active done instead of a rested one like us, and they find another page 1. So yeah, their hand's pretty stable, and they seem to be finding the pieces that they need. They were able to ramp, but we have consistency in the ramp with Onigashima, which is quite good for our build. So let's search, see if we find something good. And yeah, a 2k counter seems to be the best option here, since we don't have a lot, or going for a blocker. Yeah, a blocker can protect us a little bit better, but also with the queen we can get 2 cards and pitch 1. Don't get me wrong, the 2k counter could be good as well, but yeah, the blocker here can give us the card draw and also give us a bigger threshold to defend from their attacks. A problem here is that now we are giving a target for that Mr. 1, and so now they can use it to attack us. We need to trash a card here, which can be this Kaido. Kaido is good in this match, but looking at our hand, our idea here can be to establish a Kuzan and start trying to control board from there with Kuzan and Jack. Not sure our opponent will allow us to get to that point where we can commit 10 Don to bring Kuzan to the board. But we can also gain life with Lin and yeah, manage their board in between. So let's see what this build reserved for us. At the moment, not very impressed with what our opponent is getting out of it. A 7k attack, we can block and get out of it, but here we can make Queen absorb 1 more hit if they decide to go for it with Mr. 1. So it all depends on our opponent's decision here. they go for life, which we can counter out. We shouldn't go down too much in life here, so countering out makes sense. And yeah, we only have 2Ks, so we have to be mindful as well about not spending a lot of them in one play. And here we go. That's the perfect play for this deck, right? They could drop a page 1, bring an ulti back, with the ulti minus a Dawn, put a page 1, so they just dropped 3 bodies in one single turn. That's pretty strong. We need to clear that Mr. 2, sorry. And yeah, it's gone now. So here we can deploy a Jack and KO one of their bodies with our leader ability. Makes sense to go for the stronger one, which is the 6k power. So it's easier for us to get out of the attacks next turn. They still have 2 bodies out plus leader, which is a lot of attacks. We don't have a lot of counter power. If they distribute the Dawn properly here, it will be pretty rough on us. We'll need to use our blocker. So let's see what they do. They should take advantage on having all those attackers, but also our opponent doesn't know that our hand is kind of bricked at the moment. So yeah, they should go with a lot of attacks here to reduce our hand size, right? So they decide to KO Queen. They spend an Ice Age for that. That's a huge commitment. That means that they can't go for Jack anymore. They don't have punch power to take him out, which is quite good for us. And we get another blocker. We counter out of this one. We don't want to go down to 1 life. Not in this attack, because there are more attacks to come. Page 1 will still come for us. And here we'll give this Rebecca just to make sure we don't lose a lot of life. They have 3 cards in hand, so we can start clearing their board. First, let's get our rested on. And now we can just aim for their board. We don't want to give them more cards in hand at this point. So maybe they'll counter out. It's just a 5k attack. We didn't want to go higher because we can establish a body this turn as well. So we still want to have Dawn available in case a big mom makes sense. They counter out, which is good for them. We have to remove as much as we can this turn. So here I think that the Kuzan wouldn't be necessary, but it's a tough decision. He minus all the board, and that's what allows us to keep removing it. So yeah, maybe getting rid of the Sabo makes more sense to keep that minus pressure in case we need. Now we add the Who's Hoot, the bottom of life. There wouldn't be too much of a difference here. I think that maybe it would be better to add one of the other ones, because Who's Who has a trigger. If we have a smaller body, when it comes out of life, they can use it to KO. So that decision was a bit poor. In here, we can attack into Jack instead of using his KO ability, because we don't want to filter our hand, and also it would be pretty hard for the opponent to have something to protect that page 1. The opponent will go for Jack. There's nothing we can do here. We have to give it to them, which is pretty good for them. It's a strong card, it's very solid, keep removing their board, but at this point they have 2 cards in hand. It's not the best. And we can establish a Kuzan, KO their last character on the board, and yeah, that will pretty much make the difference. But we can also KO with Garp. It's not something that would demand a Kuzan on board, and that would allow us as well to have more Dome for attacks. We get our Dome back, can drop this Garp, maybe it's the best option, and yeah, we should be able to clear it out. We can give the Queen to use Garp's effect. First, let's attack and see if there are any possible triggers there. It was a little bit dangerous to do that, because if they had anything that KO 5 costs from life, we could see Garp go before we use his effect. That would be a waste, but luckily that didn't happen. And we draw a card, an Onigashima. Probably that's a good card to pitch for Garp, because there's no use for us at this point in the game. And we have a very solid situation here with the Lin that can heal us. We are at 3 life, we have 2 established bodies, a 6k and a 9k, so our opponent must feel the pressure at this point. They can find a Kaido, which is quite good. Here I believe they will go for the Lin because it's the bigger body. That doesn't feel like the right decision, since they should expect us to have a lot of minus bodies, and we can minus the Kaido and get rid with the Garp. So yeah, let's protect the Garp here, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. We can go for the Kuzan, drop the Kaido, costs 9, is 4 now, so we can pretty much KO Kaido with the Garp. For that we can trash the Who's Who. Yeah, the Who's Who makes sense to go here. Yes, because the Lin can give us a life in case we need, and can also pop their board. So again, at this point it's quite hard for the opponent to get back into the game. They have 2 life, we have 3 attackers. They still go for a Kaido last breath here, and very solid, but that brings them down to 6 down this turn. They will be at 8. active Dawn next turn. That doesn't give them a strong body. And when we see another Kuzan here, it's very, very harsh, right? Because we could either go Kuzan and KO the Kaido, or we could go in a route with Lin, which makes more sense. Put that Kaido to the bottom of life, so they don't have access to it. Let's bring them down to 0 first. We will go back to 2 life. They don't have Dawn to establish another Rush Kaido this turn. So that's pretty much it. We will have, if they decide to go to our Kuzan, worst case scenario, they will be able to KO it, but we can still have 2 attackers. They have 5 cards in hand. That's not a lot, so it's pretty hard for our opponent to do something that take them out of this situation here. They have 8 active Dawn, not too much they can do here. They go for the Kuzan, we can't protect it, so we let it go. And now it's just a matter of going for a game. Even if they find a way to work around this turn, survive this turn, and get the Kaido back, that doesn't matter much. Going 8 here is not enough, I guess. They have 5 cards in hand, so let's go 10, make it harder for them to counter. If they can't counter, we can go 14. They do counter out of that, but let's search, try to find something that will give us a space here. The card that we could find with counter was Queen, so we can leave our opponent there. We don't want to give them the Kaido now, or we could bring them to 0 and grant the kill if they don't establish a blocker. Let's draw a card first, see what we can get. And yeah, we can establishing a Kamazo here could be the extra body, even if they decide to go for the KO here. Bringing them to 0 put them in a tough situation where if we establish a Kamazo, either they deal with it, throw in a Kaido, and then they go for the Lin, but that leaves them open for an attack, or to establish blockers but keep defending their life. So yeah, they don't have too many good options at this point. That's why it was important to bring them down to 0. So they take the route of going for the Kaido. That's a good decision here, but doesn't give them what they need to survive. So it's a GG. They can attack into our Lin. That doesn't change the outcome of the game. So yeah, we have 5k. Kaido gains rush, will come for the attack. Probably they'll go for life. They still feel that they can survive. They are trying their best there. They grab their 2k. We will, of course, will protect Lin here. Now we have 2 strong attackers for this turn. They have no life. It's pretty impossible to survive. We protect our life because we don't want to unnecessarily go down. And yeah, 9k attack makes sense. They would need to have a lot of counter, and they just don't have it. So that's our match, our mirror match. And yeah, let's move on. What's up everyone? So let's go another match against Perona. Perona is quite strong deck. It's not a top tier deck, but if they see all the pieces they need, the game can go rough. It's even worse because we don't have Onigashima in our hand, but we have 2 searchers, so we can try to find it. So yeah, let's start searching for Onigashima here. No luck on that, so let's get that queen, the blocker one, which is actually quite good because Perona can't use its ability to rest. And our opponent plays a searcher. They use it to search, so definitely we should attack into it to remove it from the board. We can't do much on this turn apart from searching for Onigashima, and that's what we should do. And this goes even worse because we whiffed. We couldn't get anything to our hand. So yeah, let's move on from here and see what happens, but game doesn't seem that good for us at this moment. Let's pass the turn, see what our opponent will do. Oh, they don't establish any bodies, they just attack for 9k. We can definitely take this one. And there we go, Onigashima. So now we can drop it, it's not too late. It still will, we can still reap the benefits of having it on the board and gaining back a Dawn. And we can swing for 7 here, see if our opponent counters out of it. They decide to take. So now the game seems a little bit more on its track. We will be at 8 Dawn the next turn, 8 active Dawn. We can go 9 with Onigashima, but yeah, so we can start doing some plays here. Like now, probably the smart thing to do is to attack for 6 and attack for 6 and establish a jack. Probably that's all we can do. Not all we can do, but the best option we have. We could go with queen or with Kamazo, but jack seems to make more sense here, since leader's ability plus jack, we can KO most of their 5 costs. And I don't think Perona runs that many characters that goes above it. In case they drop something that's bigger than that, we still have Kuzan to give -5, so yeah, we're in a pretty comfortable spot here. Our opponent will use their character to attack on us, which is smart because it will be gone. We counter out. We don't want to have damage, unnecessary damage happening, and here doesn't make sense to activate the trigger. There's nothing we can KO, so yeah, it's good to get a 2k counter out of it. Borsalino could be a problem if we didn't get the Lin, but with the Lin we can put it back to their life and KO the Sabo. So we have 2 options here, either to KO the Sabo with Jack's ability and leader ability, or draw a card and attack into the Sabo to clear our opponent's hand a little bit if they want to protect the Sabo. It sounds to me a good idea to clear their hand a little bit and not allow them to have a big hand here. So let's get rid of the queen, put that Borsalino back into their life, and yeah, maybe now we can draw a card to see what comes out of it. That won't change much on our decision, since we have no more active Dawn available, but we can still, yeah, we should still attack into that Sabo and clear their hand a little bit. Yeah, let's draw a card first so we don't forget it. And yeah, after that, like we can attack into that Sabo and see what they have for us. Probably our opponent will counter out of this. They should have, okay, and that's massive because they gave us like 3 cards to counter out of it, which is very good for us. We considerably took out their counter, but not just that, we got the information that probably they don't have too many counter cards because they used the event here. So let's see what they have. That Kaido in our hands quite good because even if he make his board immune to KO, Kaido still has reach for it with the Trash ability. Their ability trashes a character, it doesn't KO, so it still works on characters that are immune to KO. They play Amoria and they bring back the 2 characters, but not too relevant in here. We can handle their entire board in 1 turn here. So we can drop the Kuzan here. First we can attack into the Momonosuke, see if they want to block. Yes, they do. Now we can, maybe here we should go into that Sabo. Yep. Not sure, but it was a little bit risky. Our opponent could have the counter for it, but not that it matters. And we're getting rid of the rest of their board. We don't have much to do about that Momonosuke now, but the way we have the board established, it's pretty tough for our opponent. It's not like they can get out of it very easily. Their hand is still threatening. They have much more cards in hand than we do. And there we go, more searchers and more searchers, so our opponent seeing how they want. They bought the Samurai one, so they are able to draw more cards and they get another searcher. We can get out of this one, so why not? Jack's an important piece here. And yeah, we can start getting rid of those Momonosukes. We don't want them to have all the searchers in the world. So yeah, it's kind of a waste to throw a 9k at a 0, but by the end of the day, that's how I think it's better for them and stronger for them if we leave it on the board. And now we have to select 2 cards to trash. Here now I realize it's a slight misplay, because we can still play Queen, but Queen will not reap the benefits of being immune to KO, which, yeah, it's so the wrong order to my actions here. But the position we are is pretty comfortable. We're at 3 life and we have 2 blockers. Even if they KO one of them, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. But just keep in mind that, like, first you should play all the characters you want to play in the turn, and after that you play Sabo, so everyone gets the benefits of his skills. Our opponent is in a very tough situation here. There's no way they can handle our board now, not with what they have in there. Even if they try to reduce cost of anything apart from queen. It would be pretty hard. And here is exactly what I said, right? If I inverted the order, they couldn't KO that queen. Not a big of a problem here, not a massive problem, but still, right? That's something we really don't want to. So yeah, let's get rid of the Momonosuke again. They saw 4 Momonosukes this game, if I counted right, which is pretty strong for them. And we can start KOing his board again and again and again. Now we don't have a reason to leave things up, right? So there we go, Ryuma dead. We can play, first we can attack with Lin, or we can even play the Jack first and K just so, yeah, and the opponent gives up, because there was not much to be done here. We would KO their Gecko Moria, we would attack with 2 more big bodies, we would still have a blocker just in case we were at 3 life. So even that our opponent had a lot of counter power in their hand, it's not like they could establish a body and make it stick. So yeah, so it was a very good match for us. And let's go. Hey everyone, so let's go against Kaido now. Kaido is not that strong in this meta. I would say it's a rogue deck, but we are also a rogue deck. And they have a very good punch with the 9 cost Kaido or the 10 cost Kaido that can blow up the entire board. We got Onigashima, and they also rely on it to run faster. Let's see if they found it. And yes, they had it in their initial hand, which is pretty helpful for them. Let's drop ours as well to keep up with the ramp. We don't want them to run too much ahead of us. And start swinging for 6. Our opponent counter out of that. They start at 5 life, which is also an advantage against us. We start at 4 life, so we need to get out of a few attacks before they do, because they can take 1 extra hit. On the other hand, we have access to a lot of KO cards that they don't with the black color. So Black Maria, we can't leave this on the board. Pretty strong card. They will start to snipe at our life with the Liber ability every single turn if we leave it there. So yeah, the reasonable thing here is to go either with Garp or with Who's Who and make sure we KO that Black Maria. Garp makes more sense because it's a continuous KO and a 6k body. Also Who's Who is a 2k counter, so better to have it in our hand than keeping Garp. So let's start with destroying the Black Maria and not allowing our opponent to have the effect. We pitched the Queen here. It seemed to be the card that we need the least. Sabo in this match is stronger since it makes our board immune to KO, and that prevents them from having a free KO with the 9 cost Kaido, or even like KOing our entire board at once. So they drop a Lin, gain a life, put our Garp back in the bottom of our life. Very good move for them because Garp doesn't have counter, so they know that our last card out of life will not have counter. And here we're still at 4 life. It's pretty comfortable, so we have space to drop this Kuzan. And maybe on the next turn starting to getting rid of their board. Now we can also draw a card, which is very good at this point. We need counter power. Unfortunately, it's not a card with counter. It's not bad as well, it's a searcher. We're still in a comfortable position with 4 life. We have a 10k body out, so I don't believe that our opponent will board wipe now, and that would be the only concern of to get rid of this Kuzan. Anything else wouldn't be effective here. So let's see what our opponent does. And they play a rusher. It's very good for them, instant damage. We don't have a way out, so that will give them a lot of hits in this turn, but also we get a searcher out of life. That's quite good, and we find another Ling Ling, so we're pretty comfortable because we can get rid of their board. At the same time we can gain life. That's exactly what we want to do in this match. So let's start getting rid of their board, cleaning it up a little bit. So we can attack with the Kuzan into the King, or our opponent may have counter for this. It's only 3k difference, so they could, but they prefer to block it, which is fair as well. King is a valuable body at this stage, very solid and strong attacker. And now we can get rid of that Ling Ling. First we need to do leader ability on her. No, not at this point, not if we decide to go with Jack, but I think that it's better to go with Ling Ling so we can gain a life as well. And that's just enough to do what we need to do here. We can put that in the bottom of their life, so we make sure that their last card doesn't have a counter as well, and they won't have access to it through the game. And now we're at 5 cards in hand, so we can get another one. And another Kaido doesn't have a counter, so not the best card to see at this point. We have 3 Kaidos in hand, but at least it's a possible card if we need to pitch it for Ling Ling or Jack or any of our other casts, right? So 8k, we'll take it. No point here in trying to defend that. Also, we not even had an option here to defend them. Our opponent just drops the Kaido. We can get rid of it. They wiped our board, but we can get rid of the Kaido with the Tsuru plus the leader ability. The Kaido gets within range to be KO'd by our OP08 Kaido, and that's what we do. Also, taking a card out of their hand will hurt. At this point they have 3 cards in hand, so yeah, we can get rid of one Kaido to destroy the other. They will not have enough Dawn to play another Kaido the next turn. And here it was very hurtful for them. They are still very high on life, so that's not a problem for our opponent at this point. I don't believe they would have access to any rush cards with their current Dawn. So I believe that we're still safe here. Sniping our life with leader ability is not a good idea, since they would go very low on Dawn and they don't have a Black Maria on board to regain it. we just counter with a 1k here and they start to wall up. That's the right move for our opponent, since we have a strong body out and they may need to defend themselves. We can go with a Rebecca here. That would help us to get back a Sabo, protect our board, which is what we want. We don't want our opponent to be able to KO any of our pieces now, and this is solid since we make sure we'll have those two blockers unless they have anything that trashes our cards, but I don't believe they do. So our opponent's getting into a very rough spot. We are consistently attacking them. They are low cards on hand, and yeah, they are not in the best spot at this moment. We keep getting more and more cards to our hand, which makes it possible for us to have more counter, to get out of their attacks. They are at the point that they either develop bodies or they hit us, so they wall up again, and that gives them more cards in hand, which helps. They may have more counter power. We'll get out of this attack. We want to keep that one life in there just in case they drop a rusher or get us by surprise, and they wall up again, get more cards in hand. So now I would say that they are pretty much back on the game. So yeah, we can drop in a jack would be a good option, but first let's attack their leader, see what they do. If they take it or if they give us a blocker, we want to get those blockers out of the table, because they are not just blockers, they are attackers as well. Even that we still have life, it's just one life, and against Kaido that's never guaranteed. They can get rid of that life with leader ability. So let's try to force them to give us some of those blockers at least. And our opponent decides to counter out with a Blast Breath, very good, plus 4k to their leader. So let's kill that Captain Kid, which gives a small support to their leader ability if they need to use it. Here, trashing the Ice Sage may not be the best option, because if they drop a big body, that Ice Sage would put it in range for Charlotte Linlin. But I also feel that the other cards have counter and Linlin can give us life back, so there were not too many options that would be better than the Ice Age. And here is where our opponent could, if they have a 9 cost Kaido, it would become problematic, because they could KO one of our blockers, go all out with everything they have, and it would get a little bit messy, but it seems like they don't have it. So we can survive this turn. And our opponent decides to snap our last life with leader ability. I'm not sure that's a good option here, because they are very low on Dawn now, and we know that they can't play a 9 cost this turn. So yeah, I'm not sure that was the best option. Here we can block with Sabo, let it go. Doesn't make sense to pitch 2 blockers to protect 1. We can always drop those two blockers in case we need. And let's get rid of their board a little bit. With this we can probably clear the entire board, the way things are now. We could use leader ability plus Jack, but doesn't make sense here. So it's much better to just attack, see if we get cards out of their hand, maybe. But if we do that and they counter out, they will have 2 attackers, which is not the best for us. So first let's establish our blockers and see if we get something out of it. We have 2 Linglings in hand, which can give us life in case we need, but that blocker is still not good to be there, so let's make sure we get rid of it with Jack's ability. We can also filter out our hand if we get something good, like a counter power card. We can pitch 1 of those Linglings, and I don't think we'll need 2 of them. So we pitch the Ice Age. We're late stage in the game. We're not concerned about our opponent to get to 10 Dawn for now, so they wouldn't be able to drop board wipe Kaido. Also, we are KO immune, so not much that they can do. We can block here, let that queen go, and again just attack their leader, see what they have for us. Maybe dropping a Lin here can help to have 1 extra life, and then either our opponent attacks at us or they snipe our life, unless they have a 10-drop Kaido, which would be very good for them at this point. I'm not sure they do, or if they do, they are holding on playing it, which would be very weird, right? Because that's their way out to win the match. And yeah, that's something important, guys. We can always drop Lin, not put anything back into their life, and gain a life, right? So you don't have to put something back into the opponent's life to be able to heal a life, because of the order of the text in the card description. Our opponent goes for queen again. They are walling up, trying to get as strong as they can to survive 1 more turn. They probably will attack us with leader now. That's all they can do. They only have 2 Dawn. That's not much. There's not much they can do with it. And yeah, we can easily get out of this attack. So nothing concerning. But here again, the opponent thrashes our life, which is not the best option for them. We can, like I said, easily just block this. We not even need to save the Sabo. We can keep the 2k counters, because just to make sure, if we need to extend the game a little bit more, we have counter power in our hand. And we can gain a life again. Since our opponent's very low on Dawn, they will not be able to use leader ability or drop any bombs in the next turn. So no concerns on that. They could still have a Black Maria, but the Dawn will enter rested, so not something that's a big concern for us. Definitely not something that would save our opponent here. And Yeah, we can deploy this Lin just to make sure we have an extra security in case we need. So we drop the Lin, trash 1, gain a life, can put that blocker to the bottom of their life. We don't care about it, it's only 1k counter, and we can go all out with Kaido. Even that we give that Lin to our opponent, it doesn't matter, they will not have done to play it. And here we just attack them one after the other. We're still at 1 life, and yeah, that's pretty much it. There is not much they can do anymore. We have 4k counter in our hand. They use the Black Maria, they will do their thing of getting our life out, trying desperately for a last attack. We have like 4k, so getting out of a 5k is pretty easy. And yeah, our opponent concedes because basically there's nothing else they could do. We could go all out. They didn't have a 9 cost Kaido in their hand through the game. I'm not sure they were playing one, but yeah, it was a pretty smooth match. We could manage the tempo, manage the board, and yeah, that's it. So yeah, leader is pretty fun. It's a challenging leader. You have to think a lot, you have to really put an effort into your plays, so you do things in the right order and you make the right choices. The ability is pretty strong. The changes we made to the deck made it more consistent, so having 4 of the searcher events plus 2 queens reduced the number of times that we wouldn't have Onigashima available. Also, the Garp allows us to KO earlier, which helped us a couple of times, removing those Black Marias or some early attackers from our opponent. Having 3 Kaidos felt like a little bit too much. I would probably reduce to 2 because a lot of times we would have it as brick in our hand and we would play other cards over him. He's also searchable, so it's easier to find him. I'm still not 100% with this deck. I feel that we need to tweak it a little bit more, but this is much stronger than the previous version. In case you didn't see the previous video, go there and check, but we're talking about this one. And yes, so from here you will have to check what's the meta in your store where you play, tweak the numbers, move things around, and yeah, that's it. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next week.